Picture this. A soldier stationed overseas wakes up before sunrise. He laces his boots and he heads out for a run. He turns on his smartwatch, logs a 5-mile loop, and like everybody else, uploads it to Strava. Nothing unusual. But halfway around the world, a foreign analyst is watching. Not the soldier, but the pattern, the base layout, the repeated routes, the time of day. That single data point becomes a breadcrumb. A breadcrumb becomes a map, and a map becomes a target. Because in today's wars, you don't always need bombs or bullets. Sometimes, just a fitness app is all it takes. Hey everybody, welcome to Midweek Sitrep, your bi-weekly briefing on what's happening in the world of national security. My name is Jerry Fowler, and I'm your host. Every other week, I give you the context you need to see what's really going on, all in under 20 minutes, so you can stay mission focused. Now, this is the third and final episode in our 3-episode arc about surveillance and space warfare. We've talked about spy balloons, we've talked about satellites. But today, we're going to talk about something a little closer to home, your data. Because in the modern battlefield, the most valuable intelligence isn't locked in a vault. It's uploaded by you, by me, and billions of others every single day. So let's get into it. So what's really going on? We live in a digital world that trades convenience for access. But you have to question, access for whom? Every day, apps, platforms, and devices collect our location, our sleep patterns, browser history, conversations, even your face. And that data isn't just used to sell you ads. It can also reveal military unit movements, track intelligence officers, predict political unrest, and fuel foreign espionage AI systems. This may sound far-fetched or an over-exaggeration, but it's real, and it's happening. Every time you ask your smart speaker to dim the lights, it's learning more about your routine. And so is everyone else it's sharing its data with. Hey, if you haven't signed up for the Midweek Sitrep Substack, now's the time. It's your direct line to deeper insights, sources, and the stories behind the headlines. Every Friday morning, you'll receive the latest edition conveniently emailed to you. Just head to midweeksitrep.substack.com and sign up for the insider brief today. No spam, no fluff, just situational awareness delivered. How did we get here? It didn't start as a threat. First came convenience. GPS apps to avoid traffic, fitness trackers to log runs, smart fridges that knew when to order milk. Then came the business model, big tech collecting everything, data brokers bundling and then selling it, surveillance capitalism taking root. But eventually, adversaries took notice. They didn't need to hack classified systems. They could buy health data from bankrupt US firms, use facial recognition scraped from social media, feed massive data sets into AI models trained to find vulnerabilities. If you remember back to Midweek Sitrep episode 2, we talked about the Equifax breach of 2017. You remember, 147 million Americans had their social security numbers, birth dates, and credit details exposed. It wasn't just an identity theft problem. It was an intelligence jackpot. And while that was happening, foreign firms were quietly buying up US health data companies, genealogy firms, and ad tech platforms. What started as convenience became currency, and then currency became capability. All right, gather around, story time. Let's talk about the Strava heat map incident. In 2018, Strava, a fitness tracking app, released a global heat map of anonymized user data. Sounds pretty cool, right? A glowing visualization of millions of workouts. Until analysts noticed something strange. There were bright activity hotspots in the middle of deserts, at the edges of war zones, in places like Afghanistan, Iraq, and Djibouti. They weren't locals logging runs. They were U.S. soldiers, their bases, their patrol patterns, their vulnerabilities, all visible. Open source intelligence researchers quickly reverse engineered the data. Suddenly, anyone with Wi-Fi could identify sensitive installations and the habits of people inside them. The Pentagon responded quickly. Commanders issued new guidance restricting fitness trackers in operational areas. Wearables were reclassified, not as harmless accessories, but as potential security threats. And Strava? Well, it pulled that feature. But the message was already out. Metadata isn't meaningless. It's a map. And it talks. But Strava wasn't a one-off. In 2020, CFIUS, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, forced a Chinese company to sell its ownership in Grindr, a dating app. You might wonder, why? Well, because Grindr stored extremely sensitive personal information. Private messages, location history, health disclosures, and relationship patterns. All of it could be used to track, blackmail, or compromise U.S. personnel. And it's similar with TikTok. TikTok wasn't just viral dances and comedy. It was, and is, a trove of metadata. Keystroke patterns, location pings, content preferences, draft videos that were never posted. That's why it keeps coming under scrutiny. Not for the content, but for control. So you might be wondering, why does this matter? Well, you don't have to be in uniform to be a target. You just have to be connected. Foreign adversaries don't need to hack your phone. They can just buy the data. They don't need a mole inside your organization. They can use facial recognition. They don't need to guess who's important. They can cross-reference social media, employment history, and travel records. Think LinkedIn. And now with AI, this isn't happening manually. No one's sitting in a dark room combing through the internet for this information. It's happening at scale. Let's let that sink in for a minute. They're using AI to have this happen at scale. This is pattern recognition turned into predictive modeling. It's what lets a country know who to watch, who to target, and who to influence. This is the quiet power behind foreign influence. And it's already here. Hey, you. You want to support the show and look good while doing it? Well, of course you do. You can now get your official Midweek Sitrep merch at everythingisnationalsecurity.com. Hats, shirts, and gear for the everyday listener who knows everything is national security. Whether you're commuting, at the gym, or breaking down geopolitics over brunch, rep the mission. That's everythingisnationalsecurity.com, where strategy meets style. So with each episode, I want to make this interactive as much as it possibly can with me speaking into a microphone. So I try to give you some takeaways. And I understand you're not a spy. You're not a general. You're just a person living your life. But here's the reality. You're in the data set. So what can you do? I want to give you 6 things that you can do right now that can help in this problem. The first, you can turn off location sharing on apps that don't need it. Second, you could be thoughtful about your posts. especially travel, routines, and family details. Third, you can check app permissions. And think to yourself, do they really need access to your camera or your microphone or your GPS location? 4, you can use encrypted messaging like Signal or iMessage when possible. 5, avoid sketchy free apps. The reason it's free is because your data is the price. And 6, talk to your family about this, especially kids or aging parents with smart devices. They're the most at risk and they need this information. This isn't about paranoia. It's about awareness. Because when everything is online, security starts offline with you. It's becoming clear that data is the new oil. But unlike oil, it's everywhere. It flows freely. It's collected silently. And the ones who control it control the narrative. China has declared data a national security resource. Russia uses it to power disinformation campaigns. The US is scrambling to keep up with rules like the Bulk Sensitive Data Executive Order. But rules take time. Technology doesn't. So what's next? Here's the bottom line. If you want to win the next war, you need the best data. That means companies must invest in privacy. Governments must enforce boundaries. And all of us, we need to think before we click. Because the next great conflict may not start with a bang. It might start with a like, a swipe, or a location pin. Coming up next week, we have Brief Episode 7. It's going to be about location data. And once that's out, we'll be done with our 3-part arc on surveillance and space warfare. In the past 6 weeks, we've gone from spy balloons drifting silently overhead to satellites tailing each other in orbit, to data trails we leave behind every time we move, speak, or swipe. And here's the truth. You don't need a security clearance to be part of the national security story. You just need a smartphone. So if this arc changed the way you see the world, or how you see your role in it, then I hope you'll stick with us moving forward. That's it for today's Midweek Sitrep. If this episode got you thinking, don't let that conversation stop here. Head over to the Insider Brief on Substack and subscribe. It's where we dig deeper, answer your questions, and preview what's next. We're also on YouTube, where you'll find short clips, interviews, and bonus content. Make sure to subscribe there if you haven't already. And if you want to support the show and look good while doing it, check out our merch. Every shirt and hat helps keep Midweek Sitrep independent and growing. Subscribe, share, and stay sharp. I'm Jerry Fowler, and remember, everything is national security. See you next time. Midweek Sitrep with Jerry Fowler is an independent production of OPCEN Media Group, LLC. The information provided in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute legal, financial, or professional advice. Listeners should consult with a qualified professional before making any decisions based upon the content discussed. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host, Jerry Fowler, and any guest, and do not reflect the official policy, position, or endorsement of any current or former employer, client, government agency, military organization, educational institution, or any other entity for which the host, Jerry Fowler, may be affiliated. Mention of a company, product, or service does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation. Any references are provided for informational purposes only. This podcast does not disclose any classified, proprietary, or confidential information. All discussions are based upon publicly available information and personal expertise. Everything's national security. OPCEN Media Group, LLC.